In this video, we're going to learn how to set up a linear programming problem and solve it. Now, most of the problems that you've seen up till now in the last lesson had a list of constraints written as inequalities and a function that you needed to maximize or minimize over those particular constraints. But what happens if the problem is a word problem? So let's go through our steps. The first thing that we need to do is we need to label X and Y. It always helps to write this down because then you know what you're looking at. So X might be the gallons of water and Y might be the gallons of oil that you need in a particular problem. And you're going to just write that down. Next, you're going to translate each constraint into an inequality. Don't forget often that the inequalities x greater than or equal to 0, y greater than or equal to 0 will not be listed, but you have to make sure you list them when you are going through your problem. Because if x and y are physical quantities, they're never going to be negative. So the problem is going to assume that you know that, but still you need to write it down so that you create your graph correctly. Next, you need to figure out what your objective function is and translate it into an equation or into a function. So it's going to look something like f of x is equal to some form of x and y, some linear function of x and y. And it's important also to take note of, is this a problem asking you to maximize the objective function, or is this a problem asking you to minimize your objective function? The next thing we need to do is we need to find all of the corner points of your feasible region. Now, your region might be bounded, your region might be unbounded, it doesn't matter. What you need to do is take each set of inequalities together and think about them as being a system of inequalities and solve them by either using substitution or elimination. Sometimes if you're using a good piece of graph paper, you can actually see what the points are, but you need to label all of the corner points on your graph. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take each corner point individually and you're going to plug it into the objective function, plugging the x in for x and the y in for y, and it helps to make a chart that sort of lines everything up. And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to find the max or the min depending on what the problem is looking for.